Right now, 7-down jackets are sitting in shopping carts, on wish lists, and under people's arms in checkout lines, and they are going to fail every buyer who trusts them. Not inconvenience them, fail them. Loft collapses by night 2, cold spots bleeding through every sewn seam. Fill power numbers that look impressive on the tag and mean absolutely nothing inside the jacket. Prices from $90 to over $1,000 wasted. 7 buying traps exposed first. 3 jackets that actually earn every penny after, and the worst offender on this list costs more than $1,200. I'm Ranger Jack. 17 years guiding in the Cascades and the Northern Rockies. No brand deals, no free product. I keep a gear graveyard shelf in my guide shop. Every failed jacket gets a sticky note. Here's number 7. Number 7, generic Amazon 850 fill white label budget jackets. You already know the format, sub-$100 price. A high fill power number right in the listing title, 850, sometimes 900. Thousands of 4.5-star reviews. Clean product photography. A spec sheet that reads better than jackets twice the price. Here is the problem. That fill power number is self-reported. Nobody checked it. No third-party certification, no independent fill test, no RDS verification anywhere in the listing. The review base is commuters and people who wore the jacket through a parking lot in November. Not anyone who slept in it at elevation when the temperature dropped past freezing. And the baffle construction on almost every one of these jackets is sewn through, which means cold seams run across the entire torso at every quilted stitch line. The jacket feels warm for the first 30 minutes. Then the loft settles, the seams bleed. The real fill, whatever it actually is, cannot compensate for the structural failure at every stitch. By hour 3 in sustained cold, you feel every single one of those seams. The gear graveyard shelf in my shop has 3 of these. Different brand names, same construction, same failure. One came off a client after the first night on a Cascades shoulder season trip. The tag said 850. It performed like 550 in the field. That trip is where the shelf started. For a house layer or a travel compression piece, this might be acceptable. As a field insulation jacket in real conditions, it does not hold. The number on the tag is not the fill power you are wearing. That one is predictable. The next trap is harder to spot because the brand name is real, and it is in every major mall in North America. Number 6, fashion and lifestyle. Brand puffer jackets. Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein outdoor positioned lines. These are apparel companies. They saw the puffer jacket market, built products that matched the aesthetic, and priced them in the $250 to $500 range where buyers expect real outdoor performance. You buy one because it looks exactly right. The styling is clean, the photography is strong, the influencers are wearing it. In the store it feels warm. The label says down, which sounds technical. You walk out feeling like you made a smart choice. Then it rains. Even light precipitation, not a real storm, just a wet afternoon. The shell soaks through because there is no DWR treatment and no technical fabric construction. The downfill is not hydrophobic treated, which means it wets out fast and loses loft. There is no meaningful wind resistance because these jackets were designed for how they photograph, not for how they manage heat in moving air. Any sustained exposure and the warmth collapses. A $150 RAB entry piece outperforms these on every metric that matters outdoors. The fashion jacket is not a bad product. It is the wrong product, sold to buyers who assume the price signals outdoor capability. The outdoor label is on the tag. The outdoor engineering is not in the jacket. Fashion brands are the obvious miss. The next one is harder to see coming because this brand actually makes performance gear, just not for this category. Number 5, Under Armour Storm Down and Cold Gear Down jackets. The name sounds right. Cold Gear sounds technical. Storm sounds waterproof. Under Armour is a genuine performance company. The athletic brand credibility is real and earned. You see these at major retailers for $120 to $200 next to outdoor brand jackets at twice the price, and it looks like a smart value pick. The engineering competency problem is this. Under Armour built its expertise in athletic apparel, compression layers, training gear, sideline warmth. That is legitimate performance engineering for that specific category. It does not transfer to alpine insulation. Storm technology is a DWR finish applied to the outer shell fabric, a water-repellent surface treatment, not a weather-resistant membrane. It deflects light rain briefly. It is not what most buyers imagine when they see the word storm on a hang tag. The fill power on most of these jackets is not clearly disclosed on the product page, which is itself a meaningful absence. The athletic cut geometry is also wrong for an insulation layer. It is built around mobility, not around trapping warm air inside a layering system. When you raise your arms, the body of the jacket pulls and shifts, compressing the insulation at the joints, the exact places you need the loft to stay intact. Under a pack strap, that compression compounds at the shoulders. For a cold stadium seat or a tailgate in a parking lot, it works. For a trail or a mountain camp under a real layering system, it is the wrong tool. This jacket was built for a cold bench, not a cold mountain. Under Armour at least never claimed to be a backcountry brand. The next one has been in the outdoor market for decades. And the logo is doing more work than the product right now. Number 4, Columbia entry-level down lines. Columbia is a legitimate outdoor company. The credibility in waterproof shells and technical apparel is real and earned over decades. The problem is that credibility attaches to every product in the catalog, including entry-level down jackets that do not deliver the same engineering. The Pike Lake and basic down jacket options sit in the $100 to $160 range. They carry the Columbia logo, the Omni Heat name, and outdoor heritage language on the hang tag. Buyers see the brand and assume they are getting the engineering that built that reputation. They are not. The fill power on Columbia's entry-level down is not always clearly disclosed, and where it is published, the numbers reflect budget construction, not trail-ready insulation. Omni Heat's thermal reflective dot technology does help retain radiant body warmth, but it cannot compensate for weak fill power and sewn-through baffles. In sustained cold or variable mountain conditions, the insulation compresses under pack weight, the seams bleed heat, and the jacket falls short of what the brand name suggests. A client of mine bought one of these at a Columbia outlet before a 3-day Cascades trip. He had bought Columbia rain shells before they held up, and he trusted the name. The down jacket was a different category of product built at a different engineering tier. It went on the shelf after trip 2. Sticky note reads, Columbia entry down, $130, cold seams, Cascades November, night 2. Columbia makes technical products at the upper end of its catalog. These are not those products. The brand built its reputation on the upper shelf. These jackets are on the lower one. Columbia at least sells something worth buying somewhere in the catalog. The next brand has a genuine legend in outdoor insulation, and that legend is doing all the work while the current mid-tier product coasts. Number 3, Eddie Bauer mid-tier downlines. This one is harder to dismiss because the brand origin is real. Eddie Bauer holds the original U.S. patent on the modern quilted down jacket. The company created this product category. That is documented history, not marketing copy. And it is exactly what makes the mid-tier commercial line such a sharp disappointment. The brand has been through significant ownership changes and corporate repositioning over more than 2 decades. Buyers picking up a microtherm or downlight jacket are purchasing in association with that original engineering legacy. The current product does not always earn that association. Fill power disclosures on Eddie Bauer's mid-tier lines are not consistently published in a way that allows clean comparison with competing products at the same price. Baffle construction in the lower lines is typically sewn through. Shell fabrics in these mid-tier products are not the technical nylon equivalents you find from Rab or Arc'teryx at this price point. At $150 to $300, you are in direct price competition with brands that publish their specifications, name their materials, and deliver more consistent warmth-to-weight performance in the field. The jackets are not unusable. The problem is that buyer expectation is set by a century of outdoor heritage, and the current mid-tier product does not consistently meet that expectation when conditions get real. Loft inconsistency creates cold zones. Sustained cold performance falls below what the name implies. There is one meaningful nuance. Eddie Bauer's First Ascent line is legitimately technical, real fill power, real construction standards. This critique is aimed precisely at the mid-tier and commercial lines that trade on the company's broader name without meeting that standard. The legend is real. These jackets are not living up to it. Eddie Bauer at least earned the outdoor name. The next one borrowed a different credential entirely and charges you extra for the confusion. Number 2, the North Face Thermoball Eco. The North Face is the most recognizable outdoor brand in North America. The Summit Series built a credibility that extends to everything with that logo attached. The Thermoball Eco sells in the $180 to $250 range alongside real down jackets in the same store section with similar marketing language about warmth and cold weather performance. The Thermoball is not a down jacket. It is a synthetic insulation jacket engineered to mimic the clustered geometry of down fill. The North Face markets it using language like down-like warmth, which is a comparison, not a claim of technical equivalence. A significant number of buyers miss that distinction entirely. They walk out of the store believing they purchased a down jacket. They did not. That gap has practical consequences. Synthetic insulation is heavier per unit of warmth than genuine high fill power down at an equivalent warmth level. It does not compress to the same packed size. It undergoes permanent compression faster than quality down with repeated use under a pack, meaning the warmth-to-weight ratio degrades over time in real field conditions. And there is no fill power equivalent for synthetic, so you cannot run a clean comparison against the actual down jackets next to it on the shelf. There is a legitimate case for synthetic. In conditions of sustained saturation, where a jacket cannot fully dry, synthetic holds more warmth when wet than untreated down. That advantage is real. But hydrophobic treated down, which Rab, Montbell, and Arc'teryx use at this price tier, closes most of that gap. The one scenario where synthetic traditionally wins is largely addressed by the technical alternatives. At this price, the Rab Microlight Alpine with 800 fill hydrophobic treated down delivers a stronger warmth-to-weight outcome. The Thermoball is not a badly built product. It is a synthetic jacket, priced and positioned in a way that many buyers mistake for a down jacket. It performs like synthetic insulation because it is synthetic insulation. At least the North Face is a real outdoor brand. The final jacket on this list costs over $1,000, is defended loudly by its owners, and has fill power that does not begin to justify the price tag. Number 1, Canada Goose. Here is where the comments section turns. The Expedition Parka costs over $1,000, often approaching $1,400. The logo is recognized everywhere. The marketing is unambiguous. This is the ultimate cold weather solution. The patch on the arm is a status signal that reads clearly in every city that gets winter. Now, look at the actual fill power specification on the Expedition Parka. The widely cited figure is 625. At any price point above $300, 625 fill power is a weak specification. At over $1,000, that number is very difficult to defend against any serious technical alternative in this category. What you are paying for is the logo patch, the coyote fur trim, the brand ambassador program, the premium retail address, and decades of urban cold weather marketing. You are not paying for technical alpine insulation performance. The jacket is heavy. It is not packable. The hood geometry is fashion first. It was built for standing in city cold, and it does that adequately. Take it into the field and the problems compound immediately. The weight is wrong for trail use. The geometry does not integrate cleanly with a layering system. The warmth-to-weight ratio at 625 fill is objectively weaker than what you get from the 3 jackets coming up next at a fraction of the price. I watched a client show up on a Stehekin Group winter trip 5 days, Cascades, cold enough to matter, with a Canada Goose parka that cost over $1,100. By day 2, he was borrowing someone else's Rab. That parka is on my shelf now. The sticky note says $1,100, 625 fill. Day 2 fail. If your use case is exclusively standing in urban winter cold with no need to move, pack, or carry the jacket, it functions for that. But that is not a performance purchase. That is a brand purchase. For $1,200, you are buying the patch on the arm. The fill power inside does not match the price on the tag. That is what to stop buying. Now here are 3 jackets where the construction actually earns the cost. The Rab Microlight Alpine jacket is the benchmark, $250 to $350. 800 fill RDS certified hydrophobic treated down. Pertex Quantum Shell, lightweight, wind resistant, weather deflecting without adding bulk. Box wall baffle construction, which means no sewn through cold seams. The insulation is continuous across each full panel. Full published specifications. Fill power, fill weight, shell fabric name, hydrophobic treatment process. Every piece of information the brands above withheld or buried is right there on the product page. The hydrophobic treatment solves the damp environment loft problem. The box wall baffles solve the cold seam problem that ran through every budget item on this list. The shell weight is named and verifiable, not described with vague language. This jacket is priced directly against the Thermoball, the Columbia upper tier, and the Eddie Bauer mid tier, and it wins on every published metric. It is on my own gear list. No brand deal. I bought it myself. Second, Montbell Plasma 1000 down jacket. Most buyers walking into a large outdoor retailer have never heard of this brand. That is their loss. The Plasma 1000 uses 1000 fill Power Goose down, the highest commercially available fill power in a standard production jacket from any major manufacturer. The warmth to weight ratio is not matched by anything else in this category at any price. It weighs under 200 grams in most sizes. It compresses smaller than most water bottles. The specifications are published, independently referenced, and cited consistently across the alpinism and serious thru-hiking communities over many years. The price sits around $300 to $400, a fraction of what Canada Goose charges for 625 fill construction, and the warmth output is not remotely comparable. Montbell wins on every field metric that matters. The brand has less retail presence in North America, which is the only reason most buyers have not heard of it. In communities where actual field performance drives every purchasing decision, Montbell's credibility is well established and has been for decades. Nobody walks into a flagship outdoor store asking for Montbell. That is their loss. Third, the Arc'teryx Cerium hoodie. This is the most expensive of the 3 recommendations, and it solves the hardest problem in this category. The Cerium hoodie uses 850 fill RDS certified down in the core body panels and Core Loft compact synthetic insulation in the zones where down is most vulnerable to moisture, the shoulders and underarms. The hybrid design means the jacket retains warmth in damp conditions where standard down would begin to fail. Full published specifications named insulation materials in each zone and construction logic that explains every panel placement directly. The price lands around $375 to $450, significantly less than Canada Goose and more than the Rab. What you are paying for is the hybrid insulation engineering and the precision of the panel placement. The geometry is designed from the ground up as an alpine layering piece, not adapted from another category and repositioned with new branding. Expensive, but every dollar is accounted for in the construction. Before you buy any down jacket, run this checklist. Fill power. Look for a published number, not a marketing phrase. 750 or higher for real outdoor use, 850 or higher for alpine or sustained cold. If the number is not on the product page, treat that absence as a warning. Fill certification. RDS is a recognized third-party ethical sourcing standard. Its presence means the brand is willing to show its supply chain. Hydrophobic treatment. Treated down, holds loft in damp conditions. Untreated down wets out and collapses. In any wet climate, this is not optional. Baffle construction. Box wall baffles mean continuous insulation across the full panel. Sewn through baffles mean cold seams at every stitch line. Look at the jacket itself, not the copy. Shell fabric, a named technical material with a published weight, tells you the brand is being specific. Water resistant without a name fabric tells you they are not. Warmth to weight. If fill power and total jacket weight are both published, compare them directly across products. This single ratio cuts through most of the marketing noise on its own. Use case match. Confirm the jacket was engineered for your actual conditions, not just photographed near a mountain. And price per fill power unit. Divide the jacket price by the fill power number and compare across your options. That one calculation alone eliminates most of the bad buys on this list immediately. Outdoor conditions do not care about logos. They care whether the insulation holds when the temperature drops and the trip runs longer than planned. Tell me in the comments, what down jacket do you own? How many real cold nights have you actually used it? And did it hold up or did it let you down? If you own a Canada Goose and want to push back, I'll be in the comments. Bring the specs. Drop the brand and specific line you want on the test list next. If I can get it, it either ends up on the shelf with a sticky note or it earns a spot on the recommend list. The next video is sleeping bags. The fill power problem is worse there. Stay if you want to know before you buy.